After the tone, please state your name followed by the pound sign.
Y ese que pasaste, ese documento, ¿cuál es el que habla de ya? Pero en el otro que me pasaste, el completísimo, no hay una introducción pequeñita ahí. Ese es el que... No, pero tal vez sea una que sea solo introductoria.
All right, everyone, I'd like to go ahead and get started. If be possible, some of you could mute your line. I may be having some difficulty with the crosstalk on the webinar today. Okay, hello everybody. My name is Ian Stahl. I am Director of Product Management for Governance Solutions here at Informatica's Information Quality Solutions Group. That is the group that develops MDM and data quality product offerings. I wanted to give you an overview of the latest MDM 10 release. This is MDM version 10. MDM version 10 just released this past quarter at the end of November, so it's a fairly new release. A lot of very interesting new features and capabilities that we want to talk to you about today. This webinar is part of a series sponsored by Informatica Global Customer Support. There are a number of highly insightful and educational webinars that we have. We do have another webinar I want to make you aware of coming up in February. This is on February 26th. This one will cover data quality, profiling, and scorecards. Please mark your calendars if you're interested in this topic area. GCS will be going through profiling scorecards as they apply to a data quality lifecycle, basic and advanced profiling, scorecarding, and the provisioning of scorecarding. Rules that use metrics obtained through profiling and scorecarding, and then reporting tools to assess the outcome of that. So please keep your calendars available for that upcoming webinar. So as I mentioned, my name is Ian Stahl. I am the Director of Product Management here at the MDM Business Unit for Governance. I did have the privilege of being the primary product manager for delivery of MDM version 10 over the course of this past year. Very excited to be talking to you today about the content that we have for MDM version 10. MDM 10 is a very important release for the Information Quality Solutions Business Unit. Also very important for a number of reasons that I'll get into. Also very important for a number of our IT and business customer constituencies. So we want to make you aware of the benefits that we would apply to both of those constituencies groups. I want to talk to you about the major MDM themes and the features that we have in version 10 that contribute to those themes. I will have an opportunity to provide a quick demonstration of some of those new features here at the end of the webinar, and then we will have some time at the end for Q&A. So with that in mind, MDM is a major release. It contains a number of new features. The release numbering, version 10, should allude to that. For IT, I think one of the things that we've done is we've really taken a significant step forward in providing a more comprehensive packaging of MDM that's commensurate with the packages, the software packages that customers typically deploy to complement and support an overall MDM solution. There are a few things that we've done here to support this. One is we have integrated the Vibe data integration engine to support onboarding of data from source systems directly into the MDM data model. And that onboarding system, just like data quality generally, can execute quality originating rules that execute on metrics obtained through profiling and scorecarding and the like, just as it would in data quality standalone. those capabilities are available for being able to provision that data directly. So a reuse component is a very important feature here as well. Composite objects and services, this is a new interface that we've introduced to complement application level integration and the development of wholly new business process applications on top of our MDM platform. We have a number of customers who invested heavily in being able to deliver these types of apps on MDM. And then finally, embedded BPM. As you know, we've had workflow capabilities. Many of you know we've had workflow capabilities in MDM for some time. We've now extended these with a embedded version of our Informatica BPM engine. Some of you may have been familiar with this previously as Active Endpoints, Active VOS. BPM is often co-deployed with MDM. We have a number of customers that are using Informatica BPM in particular to support more business process orchestration around master data creation and management. So we packaged that up with MDM in version 10, and that capability is now a kernel part of the product. As I mentioned, this represents a fairly conventional product stack for most MDM implementations. An assessment of past sales performance indicates that we have co-sell with DI a lot. More than half of our MDM customers purchased data integration or data integration expansion in support of their MDM project. And more than half, 60%, of our MDM buyers, customers who've purchased MDM from us in the past year, have also purchased data quality, again, in support of that MDM initiative. MDM 10 is also, we believe, a game changer for business. We have been seeing an increasing incidence of situations where customers are really looking to define and quantify a realizable business value from their MDM implementations. And more often than not, these days, MDM projects are instantiated at the behest of business to attain real business goals. How do they get visibility into those business goals, and how do they understand if the MDM program is really contributing to the success metrics that they defined at the outset? Well, there's a couple ways in which we're anticipating enhanced support for this. One is something I alluded to before, this ability to provide ready-to-use business applications for master data-intensive business processes, so things like management of financial hierarchies for chart of accounts and general ledger, management of suppliers through their life cycle, insurance and total customer relationships, a number of solutions that we've built in the past. And we now have the opportunity to package applications on top of those solutions, provide UI functionality directly to business users. The MDM-fueled business applications capabilities that we've introduced in version 10 also enable us to evolve existing applications, say Salesforce or Workday or other packaged or cloud-delivered applications, and augment them with MDM data through use of the composite service layers, as well as use of embeddable components that we've brought online in version 10 that make use of those composite services. We do have a number of customers that have invested heavily in the development of MDM-fueled apps as part of their MDM programs. A lot of these guys have built infrastructure like what we've got in version 10 from the ground up, so significant sunk costs associated with getting to a baseline that version 10 provides for you. In addition to that, we do have a fairly robust ecosystem of SI partners and other solution providers who've developed MDM-fueled applications on top of Informatica MDM as a platform. And they do this because those applications are part of the standardized MDM implementation that they typically cover for, say, an industry vertical like property and casualty insurance or healthcare, financial services. There are really a number of these. And so MDM 10 really moves the needle in terms of easing the overhead of creating and maintaining those types of packaged applications. I want to talk about MDM's version 10's major themes. This is really a big one, enabling the business information steward. You may be aware that MDM has had for many years now a packaged application that supports data stewardship functions. We call it Informatica Data Director. Data Director has been in the product for better than 5 years. And going back to when I started working heavily on support for the Business Information Steward, we did do a comprehensive survey of our customer base and identified critical customers that were looking to deploy data stewardship functionality or just provide data services to business constituencies that were outside of Data Director's typical user base. We wanted to get more visibility into their needs. A lot of version 10 features actually emanate from the findings of that study that we did, which started in 2013. It's now been formalized into a standard part of our requirements gathering practice, and in fact, we have user experience professionals out there in the field today interviewing and assessing MDM customers, MDM users. So let's talk about some of those features. Composite data objects and services. I mentioned this before. We have introduced in version 10 an ability to produce a logical business entity composed of multiple MDM base objects. So essentially it's an abstraction over the underlying MDM data model and schema. That can be composed of any of a number of base objects, typically ordered in a hierarchically structured manner. It also supports recursive structuring of the composite objects, so you can nest composite objects inside of other composite objects. And once that definition, once that CO is adequately representative of the type of business entity, customer, supplier, product, asset at location, this kind of high-order MDM entity, you deploy that through the standard deployment mechanisms that we have in the MDM platform. We automatically generate a service layer for that, both an EJB and a REST-based service layer. And those services provide for a kind of unitary transaction against that logical entity. So rather than having to orchestrate across a number of MDM objects that are sitting inside the data model in the API layer and introduce some significant risk around transactionality and completeness of the interaction, we actually just wrapper that up for you in version 10 and provide that for you as a standalone service. This is a new capability. One of the things I do want to reinforce about this and a number of other features that we're introducing in MDM version 10 is that while we have these new features and capabilities, we have not deprecated existing feature functionality. So for example, the traditional CIF API layer that has supported real-time integration with the MDM system is still available, and your clients that are consuming CIF, consuming MDM services through CIF, will be forward compatible with version 10. I'll mention other areas where we're introducing new features and where we're maintaining forward compatibility. The other component on top of those composite objects and services, this is another piece of that we implemented as a result of feedback coming from that user experience group, is the introduction of MDM data stewardship controls. These are built on top of a new application framework referred to internally as Symphony. Symphony is an Informatica-specific packaging of HTML5 and jQuery. These packages enable us to build, package, deploy, and maintain feature functionality that can be shared between data stewardship interactions and incorporated into our data stewardship UI, IDD, as well as provisioned out to other applications. Today we have a couple of components that are provisioned with version 10. One is a smart search feature. It's a free text search feature that I'll cover here in a little bit. The other one is Entity 360, which is essentially a new view into the data that's intended to be highly customized in support of various business user constituencies. Again, support for that business information steward being a central theme here. Both Smart Search and Entity 360 can also be incorporated into other application views or be used as a baseline for producing standalone applications that support non-technical, non-stewardship constituencies. In addition to that, we've also used the embeddable MDM paradigm in the Symphony framework to develop our first MDM-fueled application on top of an MDM solution. This is the solution for financial hierarchies management. I'll also talk about that here later in the deck. Financial hierarchies management provides an ability to manage and maintain libraries of reference data that are used in general ledger processes, typically referred to as chart of accounts. We find that a number of customers often look to use chart of accounts as a baseline for MDM, maybe an initial project to get the MDM program off the ground. We wanted to provide additional support for that. So just to touch on the Entity 360, I've got a depiction here of the data details view. You can see here there's a number of new components. Some of these are analogous to functionality that's built into, say, Data Director today. I've got a general data viewer. That general data viewer, you can see here in the upper left-hand corner, may look a little different from what you're used to seeing in the IDD data view. One is that we've incorporated support for images and rich media. This is, again, a customizable feature of the data details view. This is surfacing information from the composite service. So it's executing a REST call, retrieving JSON result back from the REST query, and then it's using jQuery in the client runtime to be able to process and format and display that JSON query result in a manner that's amenable to the user. Again, this is a highly customizable view, so you can modify the content of that composition. You can add additional components that actually exercise that composite service output in a different way. You can also create new versions of that maybe support different roles that participate in a stewardship process. So, for example, if you have geographic diversity for, say, North American versus European records, you can actually create different views and provision those views on a role basis depending on the needs of those different user constituencies. In addition to that, we also have some other canned views into Entity 360, embedded in Entity 360. One displays potential match candidates in a list view. We also have a presentation for related records. We have that presentation can also be used to support hierarchy presentation and navigation as well. I mentioned Entity 360 is highly customizable. This is because we built it on top of a catalog of modular page templates. Those page templates are defined IDD in configuration in MDM version 10. Can be used to flow in any components that the user, that the administrator chooses. Again, these components can be highly customized. I have an example when we get to the demonstration of some of the customization capabilities that we're introducing here. Smart Search is another feature. Again, once again, coming back from the user experience testing and survey that we did, a lot of customers came back, users came back to us and said, effectively outside of that core domain of MDM business constituency, MDM data stewardship constituencies, those heavy users of Data Director, who are fluent in understanding name 3 matching and the search that's built on top of name 3 matching, which we've traditionally provisioned in MDM. They wanted a kind of a more Google-like search interaction because a lot of these searches were instigated by a more exploratory and discovery interaction that the user wanted to have, the non-technical or business user wanted to have. So to support that, we've introduced a Smart Search feature. Smart Search manifests in the UI as a text box in the header of the Data Director view. You'll see that in the screenshot there. What it's exercising in the back end is a free text search that's implemented using a packaged search engine that deploys in tandem with the name 3 matching engine. The search engine is an instance of Apache Solr that we've actually packaged and deployed with the MDM process server in the same runtime. This provides high-performant indexing and search capabilities using that free text search paradigm it's presented to the user. In addition to that, the Smart Search feature also incorporates post-search filtering and faceting capabilities, allowing the user to refine that free text query down to specific subsets of information based on attributes that are defined as filters within the composite object config. Again, Smart Search is a composite object client, so it's indexing composite object entities, and it's providing a query service over those entities when the user executes their search. So again, this is a fairly new capability. I want to reinforce the traditional name3-based parametric search that we've had traditionally, that we've had in the product for some time. That is still available, and it's still part of the Data Director product. We know there are lots of customers who have significant investment in search strategies associated with that search engine. Obviously, we're going to continue to support that. Chart of accounts and financial hierarchies. I mentioned that we did introduce a financial hierarchies application. This is deployed on top of MDM version 10. It is a new product essentially that we're delivering in tandem with version 10. What this does is it provides a new hierarchy management paradigm that essentially supports what we think of as whole hierarchy management. This is the ability to version a hierarchy, an ability to specify the periodic effectivity of hierarchy, so a hierarchy may be effective for, say, a given financial reporting period, say Q1 2015 or Q4 2014. It provides a new interaction and working paradigm for hierarchies that's maps to the requirements expressed by these kind of financial hierarchy management chart of account users, check-in and check-out, workspaces, comparison, what-if analysis. It really is oriented towards this kind of finance business analyst. Again, the type of constituency that we often see participating in an MDM data stewardship process, but not conventionally thought of, and certainly not self-identifying as an MDM data steward. We want to be able to provide fit-for-purpose tools for those types of users. The incorporation of Symphony, Composite Objects and Services, and Entity 360 enable us to do that in a way that we haven't been before. So this is a very new thing for us. Incorporation of the Intelligent Data Platform into MDM. This is another major theme in the MDM version 10 release. Very important feature for us. Some of you who may have had the opportunity to attend Informatica World or some of the Informatica World road shows that we had over the course of the last year will be familiar with this concept of the Intelligent Data Platform. It builds on top of the Vibe engine that we launched last year. Vibe is essentially a packageable version of the data integration engine that PowerCenter, IDQ, Cloud DI all run on. It incorporates a number of other features that I'll point out here as we go through the presentation. But a lot of the capabilities that we're delivering in version 10 are premised on the fact that we can get those capabilities from a common data platform, the Intelligent Data Platform that's produced by Informatica and shared across MDM, between MDM and a number of other products. So I mentioned Vibe at the outset. This is one of the key pieces of value that we're delivering to our IT constituencies. As I mentioned, half of our customer base over the last 18 months has up-leveled their data integration ETL investment to be able to support their MDM initiative. We want to ease that for them. What we've done here is we've actually incorporated an instance of the Vibe data integration engine into MDM, and now this Vibe onboarding and the mappings produced from produced through Informatica Developer, the mapping management tool provided with Vibe, can be used to onboard data directly into the MDM base object staging tables, bypassing the landing staging process that had traditionally been used for transformation of that data into its base object correlates. Using the Vibe engine instead of landing staging confers a number of advantages for customers that are looking to use Informatica, DI, and data quality together. So first of all, it allows for sharing of both DI and DQ-based transformations. So transformations that are used for fairly common things like currency conversion and lookups, weights and measures, which is very common in product data, address standardization and cleansing, a lot of those functions that were built to support transformation processes and data quality can now be reused in mappings that support onboarding of data from source to MDM staging table. And that repurposability allows for a significant ease of administration and overhead associated with MDM. Another advantage of this approach is that a lot of the competencies that our customers have developed around both Power Center and data quality, which are, by the way, very widely deployed very widely deployed technologies, those competencies can be reused to support the onboarding of data into the MDM staging system. In addition to that, by using the Vibe engine, we actually capture all of the transformation histories as metadata from the Vibe engine. They're stored in the metadata repository associated with Vibe, and then can be sourced to augment the audit histories and lineage trail that we capture inside of MDM. So you may be aware that we've had an audit history capability inside of MDM for some time. That still continues to be the case. There were some limitations with that capability in terms of its ability to see prior to transformations that executed prior to the landing table. That's been remediated here with the introduction of this Vibe onboarding system. Now, as with the other features that we've introduced in version 10, just because we have onboarding with Vibe today does not mean we've abandoned the landing staging system. We recognize certainly that customers have significant investment in landing and staging. They have done a number of customizations and user exits to support that process. We want to continue to support those implementations as customers move up to version 10. So you could actually move up to version 10, continue to use your landing staging mappings as you had previously, and then adopt the Vibe DI-based onboarding mechanisms as your project plans permit. MDM and business process management, this is another major piece of functionality that we've got from the Intelligent Data Platform. We had, as you may be aware, we have a workflow capability built into our Data Director application. It's very specific to Data Director and kind of operates within the Data Director application logic layer. A lot of customers that we've surveyed, particularly those customers who want to support more business users associated with data stewardship functions, either for review and approval or situations where data stewardship is a component to some broader business process, have actually deployed MDM in conjunction with Informatica BPM or other third-party business process engines to be able to support that process orchestration. What we've done in MDM version 10 is we've taken the Informatica BPM engine and actually embedded it in the MDM process server. So now it deploys and runs in the same container as the process server. It actually orchestrates the interaction associated with data stewardship tasks. We've provided business process definitions embedded in that engine that support all the task-specific activities that were previously processed by application logic and IDD. Because these business processes are exposed as business process definitions, they're accessible through the Informatica BPM management and monitoring tools, as well as the Informatica BPM designer tool. So these processes can be customized to support implementation-specific logic, say routing of workflow tasks based on attribution in the record that's subject to stewardship control. So taking, say, North American records and then distributing them to the North American Stewardship Group, as opposed to taking records from the EMEA group and distributing those to the EMEA Stewardship team. There's a number of other kind of conditional routing capabilities. This is part of that business process capability, business process management capability that we've embedded in MDM version 10. Again, to add flexibility and to enable support for those MDM-fueled applications. Those are often very process-intensive applications that you want to facilitate with a defined business process that you can orchestrate, manage, control, and govern. MDM Data Sentry is another feature that we've gotten as a result of integration with the Intelligent Data Platform. This is an integration into dynamic data masking. Dynamic data masking provides in-flight masking of data. Essentially what we're doing here is we're taking the data access control rules that are built into SAM, and as some of you may be aware, our security access management layer supports a roles-based access control mechanism that provides for security of MDM resources at both the column and the row level. So fairly fine-grained security and access control entitlements can be provisioned through SAM. We replicate those role-based access control policies in the rules engine sitting inside of dynamic data masking, and now those policies can be enforced by the DDM masking engine. The advantage of that is that we can get common enforcement of those rules regardless of the calling client. So if you're looking up data in Data Director, we can obfuscate sensitive information. If you're looking up data through SIF, we can obfuscate that. If you're looking up data through the composite services layer, we can manage and obfuscate that. If you're looking up data through the JDBC layer, so making direct SQL call to the MDM database, we can also intercept that query, introspect the user context associated with that query, and provide the appropriate obfuscation based on the user's authentication and access control. This is a fairly new capability. I do want to mention dynamic data masking is a separately sold Informatica product. It's not packaged with MDM in version 10 right now, but obviously if there's significant interest on the masking capability, certainly are interested to hear about that. But yeah, this integration is available in version 10, and you can perform this dynamic data masking function associated with Data Sentry in version 10. Big data relationship management, this is the last theme associated with MDM version 10. It is, however, not least. As you may be aware, Informatica has made a significant push into the management of data, both into and out of and on big data platforms. Hadoop, for example, has been a significant target for us. Commercial variants of Hadoop, Cloudera, Hortonworks, and the like. We have introduced a new capability that is packaged and sold alongside MDM in version 10 timeframe. This is the Big Data Relationship Manager. We have a capability here where we can essentially take raw data, drop it into a Hadoop cluster, and then we can execute essentially a name3 cross-match using the same name3 engine that's been reformulated for native processing in the MapReduce layer. We take advantage of the native key-based sorting mechanisms used for name3 candidate selection in order to distribute the job and execute it in parallel across a number of across the Hadoop cluster. And then we aggregate through the reduce process the resulting linkage information to provide a link set back to link set into the Hadoop cluster. There are a couple of ways in which this can be utilized. For example, the Big Data Relationship Manager can be used as a match and link capability to augment the processing capability of an operational data store, say like another MDM instance. And in those cases, the advantage there is that you can use the Hadoop cluster to offline a lot of that fairly intensive cross-match processing, in a kind of a shared infrastructure. So, the Hadoop cluster can be purposed for that job, and then when completed, it can be repurposed to another job. However, a lot of our customers.
The person you are speaking with has put your call on hold. ನಿಮ್ಮೊಂದಿಗೆ ಮಾತನಾಡುತ್ತಿರುವ ವ್ಯಕ್ತಿಯು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಕರೆಯನ್ನು ಹೋಲ್ಡ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. जिस व्यक्ति से आप बात कर रहे हैं, उसने
All right. So a lot of our customers who've been deploying Big Data Relationship Manager have requested an ability to support this in a standalone process, essentially take the link and cluster information and utilize it as a kind of a standalone searchable repository, essentially just managing the whole life cycle inside of the Hadoop technology stack. We've taken some steps in BDRM in this current version that's shipping coincident with version 10 to do that. What we've done is we've actually introduced an indexing and search agent that utilizes an indexer on the back end of that reduce process. So this is essentially an HBase or a cumulo variant. We have either variant. And what it does is it provides an ability to take the match and link outcome from the MapReduce job, indexes that, and then provides a SQL emulator such that that queryable index can be searched, can be updated. We support transactional updating, incremental updating based on new information through that HBase API. And then also reporting. We actually have introduced some capabilities to support cluster management as well. So match and link review, match and link management. So we have effectively a standalone acts as a kind of a standalone entity resolution engine that deploys in the Hadoop stack. We support the Hadoop reference implementation today, as well as Cloudera. We have plans to support Hortonworks and MapR and other MDMs, other Hadoop implementations as our program evolves and as our needs arise. So we'll definitely be doing more of that here in the future. Again, Big Data Relationship Management is a new capability that we've introduced with version 10. It's actually licensed separately from MDM version 10. So it's something you would purchase in addition to your existing MDM license. So with that in mind, I want to go into my functional demonstration, provide a little bit of an overview for you guys, particularly around some of those capabilities that I mentioned supporting the business information steward. So if I go into the demonstration environment here, you'll see I've got Data Director front end here. This looks a little bit different. For those of you who are used to working with Informatica data quality, this may look familiar to you. It is essentially the same web technology stack that is being used to deliver IDD is being used to deliver IDQ analytics. It's, again, the Symphony framework that I mentioned before, that HTML5 and jQuery package that is now incorporated into MDM version 10 and is used to deliver Data Director. I'll do a quick login here. Oh goodness, I've got an issue with my server. While I get this up and running, give this just a minute. I will get that up and running. One other thing I wanted, while that's coming up, let me give that a minute to come up, and then I will see if there's any questions on the chat. While I'm waiting for that to come up, are there any questions that we have coming back on the chat line?
Yet we don't have any questions so far.
Okay. We give just a minute to get the server back online here. I will proceed with that demonstration. Actually, while I'm waiting for that to come up, there are a couple other things I think I might be able to walk you through. So I'm waiting for that that runtime to come up. I wanted to point you guys to a couple of things that we have that we have incorporated the engine into the platform. you'll see here, this is Informatica Developer. For those of you who are used to working with Informatica DI, Power Center, or IDQ, this environment will look familiar to you. You see I'm logged in here to the MRS. This is the object store that supports inequality. You can see here I've got a number of projects here. I've got a project associated with my ORS. This is the Wembley Data Integration Project. This corresponds to the Wembley ORS sitting here in my Informatica hub. As you can see here, I've got a mapping. This mapping actually loads data from a source table. This is a read billing customer. It writes that out to logical data object. So this logical data object corresponds to the party base object and source one associated with the party base object. See, I've got a couple of transformations here. One is a filter to pull information from the customer type, name, and customer billing. There's an expression that actually converts that to the appropriate data types for metadata that's associated with data load, which is what would be happening after this data gets loaded into the staging table. So I've got a customer billing ID, which is a source primary key, version sequence number, and the last update date. This is data that will be used. It's converted from flat format directly into the staging table here and actually run into used to populate metadata that's used by the data onboard. You can see here, if I'll go to the Informatica Hub, this is the base object party, and this is the associated staging table for that base object. You can see here the columns that are associated with that staging table, represented here in the logical data object. What happens is when I set the properties for this staging table, you have two additional properties here. One is designator for Informatica platform staging. This indicates that this particular staging table should be stored from an Informatica DI mapping, from a Vibe mapping. When I check that indicator, when I deploy this ORS, it'll automatically call the Vibe engine, the DI instance that's associated with the MDM config, generate this project, generate the associated logical data object, as well as generate all the mappings associated with the logical data object. Now, obviously, those mappings will need some customization because we won't have information prior about the structure of the source table. But once those customizations, as I mentioned before, could incorporate DI or DQ specific processing exceptions, processing if that's desired. In addition to that, we also produce and output the map list associated with these transformations. So the same transformations that are used for batch onboarding into the staging table could be reused in some situations for real-time calls. So we provide a web service output from the DI engine. That web service can be incorporated into the composite service layer, for example, to provide cleanse and validation functions for transactions that are executing through the REST or EJ-based service produced by the composite object. The other feature I wanted to point out to you here is the introduction of, one other feature I wanted to call out about this is this other attribute in the staging table config, synchronize with the model repository service. When this is selected, when I make changes to the composition of the base object that are reflected back in the staging table, those changes on deployment, once again, will be reflected back in Informatica Developer and updated in the logical data object here so they could be utilized in subsequent mapping executions. The other feature I wanted to point out is the introduction of Active VOS, the Informatica BPM engine. As you see here, I'm looking at the designer. This is the design time UI for customization of business process definitions. You can see here I've got a project here for Informatica MDM within this design environment. These are the business process definitions that we ship with Informatica in version 10. You can see InfoMerge, one-step approval, two-step approval, unmerge, update with approval. These processes essentially replicate the functionality of IDD native workflow prior to version 10. So essentially they look exactly like review and approval processes. But because they're manifest as business process definitions here, I can create or modify these. I can duplicate and modify these. I can associate different business process definitions with different MDM entity types or composite object types. I can have variable processing here. I can support parallel process execution. I believe we have an example of a parallel process execution here that has coincident approval and update functions that are supported by two different classes of user. I can support conditional processing. So, for example, review and approval based upon prior review and approval execution. And then once these are deployed, they're actually utilized by Data Director for processing. As you can see here, I've got my ActiveBoss environment running. I'm monitoring active processes. If I open up, say, a two-step approval process here, you'll see that I've got my process execution flow. You can see exactly where this process is. You can actually go look and find out who the potential owners, who the potential administrators of this process are. You can get a view into the process history and the like. So again, visual representation of how the process is executing. If you're monitoring this process, what the level of execution is on this process, where the update needs to happen. So with that in mind, let me take another look at this Data Director instance and see if I've got it back up. Let's see. So you may notice again, like I mentioned, the new look and feel. This is generally shared look and feel with the Symphony UI. Once again, the Symphony UI is used with data quality, the analyst tool. It is used with cloud data services and the like. So you can see many of the feature functions here, as I mentioned, very similar to what you're used to in Data Director. A lot of the core data management features and the like here, all very similar to what you'd expect to see. I'm going to do a quick search here against this data set. I've got a collection of results coming back from the search for RAP.
A query layer on top of the existing SIP. So,
oh. Pardon me, was there a question? Let's see if there was a question here, but you see if the search engine's taking. It takes a little while to cache because I had to bring the server back up. Apologize for the delay. While I'm waiting for this to come back, I did want to switch gears here and show you one other feature that we did bring online here earlier. This is the Informatica financial hierarchies application. As I mentioned, there's a number of new capabilities that we've introduced as part of this financial hierarchies application. This application is also built, by the way, on top of Symphony. So many of the features that we have built in here are also portable to other Symphony applications, including Entity 360. If I go to the configuration here, you can see I have an ability to define different classes of hierarchy. So these are groupings of hierarchy that represent different dimensions of classification. I can define attributions for that. I can define period types. So I can select whether the versioning behavior of these hierarchies should be done annually, semi-annually, quarterly, or on the basis of some other periodicity. Then the discrete hierarchies, these correspond to given domains. You can see here I have a corporate domain that runs corporate banking, internal administration, and retail banking. These have different attributes. These attributes all emanate, by the way, from MDM entities that support hierarchy configuration. And then once I get into this environment, you can see here I can rev this hierarchy for specific periods. You can see here I've got different instances of content depending upon which period those are. If I need to search within this hierarchy, for example, I can do a search here, take me directly to the location where this hierarchy is located. In addition to that, I can bring the hierarchy up. If I'm operating this hierarchy in my own workspace, for example, I can look at the hierarchy side by side, say with the standard current hierarchy that's in this environment. You can see that I created this whole new domain here, so this is what's changed between the current and the older hierarchy instance. So a lot of new capabilities here. Again, we're very interested in, well, this was built specifically for financial hierarchies and charts, very interested in trying to generalize that for a number of other hierarchical domains in the MDM system. You can see here, this is my search that just came back. As I mentioned, it took a little while to generate because I have to cache the search engine. You can see here I've got different result sets here. I can actually define, as a result of composite object configuration, which attributes get presented here, which attributes get brought back in the description fields and the like, just as I do in setting up the index. You can see here I've got filtering on the right-hand side. I can determine, for example, if I wanted to designate based on composite object types, so organization versus person, the two types that came back from this review. As you can see here, I can bring it back into, it filters the result set based on my decisions. If I've got, for example, a designator for city, this is also configurable, so these are all the attributes that are exposed for filtering for organization type entity type data. If I say designate by city, I can again filter that back just to get my sets back. And then, of course, if I want to wipe those out, then I can bring those back to general selection. If I do another search here very quickly for Dennis, it'll bring back Dennis Brian Moore, happens to be the general manager of the Information Quality Solutions Business Unit. I'll bring up his Entity 360 view here. As I mentioned, I've got an ability to go directly to a number of different actions directly from the Smart Search. So, for example, I can open up the traditional data view. I can open up the 360 view. I can go directly to the hierarchy view, or I can create tabs from this view. You can see here, you've got Dennis Brian Moore's record. This is the data view. Again, this is surfacing information from the composite object using the REST-based call back to the composite service definition. I don't have any matches for Brian. For Dennis, I mean. I do surface the source systems that are contributing information to this composite record. In addition to that, I've got some custom components here that do things like do a cross lookup into Google to be able to surface Dennis's location based on his address. I've got a link out to Twitter feed here that allows me to flow data in directly from a Twitter call. This information is completely customizable. Obviously, these, so for example, we've had customers that have expressed an interest in being able to do lookups into a provider database, or if they're in healthcare, for example, and be able to crosswalk provider credentialing and licensing information from an external source, or be able to do lookups into enrichment databases like Jigsaw, or do a cross lookup into Axiom. Those are the types of features that present an additional dimension of context that's not part of the MDM record, but may be important for that business user to be able to make a decision about this record. This is the type of flexibility that we're looking to introduce with Entity 360. But as I mentioned, we can still go back to the conventional data view. The original MDM data director functionality that we provided for stewardship for some time, still available here. You can still get the traditional view access to traditional stewardship-oriented services like cross-reference, service history, and matching that are conventionally associated with stewardship. So this pretty much concludes my overview of MDM version 10. I did want to thank you for your time today. And certainly, I think this was a very high-level overview. So if you want to get more informed about MDM version 10, please don't hesitate to contact Global Customer Support. MDM version 10, as I mentioned, was released at the end of November. It is GA, so you do have access to documentation and other resources associated with MDM version 10. This just touches the tip of the iceberg in terms of features and capabilities and what's new. So really want to encourage you to go out there and learn more. As I mentioned, my name is Ian Stahl. I am Director of Data Governance Products here in the Information Quality Solutions Business Unit. Obviously, that touches on MDM quite heavily, and I'm also available to answer those questions if you have them. So we're getting close to the top of the hour, but if you had any other questions, Patavi, if you see any other questions, I'd be happy to take them.
Yes. Ian, we do have quite a few questions that have come up on the chat, so let me take up the first question that's coming up from Suresh Jawahar. So you talked about the embedded data integrated on board. So what does this actually mean? Is this different from the Jasper reports integration that we have in 9.7?
Yeah, that's a great question. So just to be clear about it, Jasper is a reporting engine that we've embedded inside of MDM that allows you to take metrics that you surface from query into the ORS and present those as dimensional charts and reports inside of the data director layer. It's not actually a data onboarding engine. Vibe, which is the DI engine that's embedded inside of PowerCenter and Data Quality, in MDM version 10, we've also embedded that inside of MDM, and now you can use that to run essentially PowerCenter or Data Quality-based mappings to load data from source into MDM staging tables. That's the major change.
Thank you, Aaron. The second question is coming from Sundar. With the Vibe data integration, do we have the feature to hard delete detection?
That's a great question. There are a number of capabilities that are supported by the Vibe data integration engine. Currently, hard delete detection would require some custom transformation functions to be built into the Vibe mapping. So the mappings that we automatically generate for in the DI engine based on the logical data object for the BO do not incorporate hard to delete detection or other kind of delta detection type processes. Those need to be written into the mapping. But once they are written into the mapping, our anticipation is that you would be able to do hard delete detection or delta detection or other classes of function. Just would require customization. Is there another question?
Yes, we have another question here coming from Stephen Wood. Can the actual matching and linking processing run on Hadoop?
Yeah, so the question was pertaining to what is the actual matching and linking process that executes on Hadoop. I believe I mentioned previously that the Big Data Relationship Manager, the primary engine that runs there is a variant of our Name3 matching engine that is formulated to run directly in MapReduce and clusters. That Name3 engine essentially executes the same match and link processing algorithm that is used by Name3 natively, including the Name3 instance that's sourced into MDM, and also utilizes the external reference data associated with those algorithms. So some of you who are familiar with Name3 may be aware that we package and distribute match application-specific and language-specific populations is what we call them, that actually provide things like anonymous values, nicknames and exchangeable name values, things like that. All of that information is incorporated into the Name3 processing engine that runs natively in MapReduce. So it's essentially the same match process that runs in MDM that runs in the data quality identity match option that runs in our identity resolution engine. We are getting to the top of the hour. I don't know if we have time for one more question, Patabi. If not, then certainly we can take a look at those questions offline.
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll have time for just one question here again, and the rest of them we can probably follow up on emails.
Okay, well, make it a good one.
Hopefully. So how complex or simple would the upgrade process be for the current versions? So the current process is quite simple with installing the hub and trunk server, running the update master database, and eventually the update database script. But they suspect that it could not be as simple as it is currently with the version 10.
That's a great question, actually. We do get this question a lot because a lot of customers are very interested in upgrading to version 10. And in fact, we've had a lot of download activity on version 10 since it was released. What I would say is that MDM version 10 builds on top of the previous version 9.7.1, and most of the new capabilities, as I mentioned before, essentially run in parallel with existing 9.7.1 capabilities. So we actually anticipate that an upgrade from, say, 9.7.1 to version 10 should actually be relatively straightforward, as you described. Now, versions previous to 9.7, and we do support skip level upgrade. So we have in our documentation guides for upgrading from 9.1 and 9.5.1 and the like. There are some changes that you have to manage through either at the schema level for 9.1 users or proceeding, or users that are upgrading directly from 9.5.1 will have to manage the transition of some of their custom user exits to Java correlates as part of that upgrade process. Again, that is included in the upgrade guide. That is very similar to the upgrade process you would have from those versions to 9.7.1. So essentially, upgrade to version 10 is no more complex or cumbersome from a planning perspective than upgrade to 9.7.1. The major difference is the introduction of these new features that I described in this webinar, and obviously the project planning and technical planning that you'll need to accommodate some of these new features if you want to use them. Okay?
And one more thing that I would like to add in is at the end of this webinar, everyone will be receiving an email, and that email would also contain some content reference to the materials that the support has created with reference to MDM upgrade and also to MDM overview, along with the recording of this webinar. So I'm sure that content will be helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you for mentioning that. Yeah.
But I think we can take the rest of the questions offline, Ian. So I would be sending those over to you.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today. Very excited about MDM version 10. Once again, encourage you to follow up those links that Patabi will send over later. And very happy to be speaking with you today. Thank you very much for your time.